Thank you, Dr. Williams, for that introduction. Good afternoon, folks. How's everyone this sunny, beautiful Little Rock afternoon? La Petite Roche. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, especially right after the 3 days of fun-filled River Fest, whose remnants are still out there. I saw how the riverfront, this side of the riverfront, and the parking lot out there were transformed into a concert and carnival mode in the last 3 days. Arkansans sure know how to party. So I'm glad you're all here right after the fun fest. As mentioned, my name is Muthusami Kumaran. I teach nonprofit management and community organizations in the Department of Family, Youth, and Community Sciences at the University of Florida. Yes, I'm a Gator. So I have to show my Gator pride there. It has truly been an honor for me to serve as the first researcher in residence at the Clinton School Center on Community Philanthropy. My term started on January 11th, and it ends this week. In about 5 months, which went in a blur, we were able to accomplish a lot of research and other products as a part of this research in residence. As Dr. Williams and Dean Rutherford mentioned, this is a first research in residence program. So the expectations were changing. They had a clear idea as to what this is going to be like, but then in terms of product, it was truly a teamwork. I'll talk a little bit about that. This presentation is based on one of the two research works that I conducted in collaboration with Center on Community Philanthropy and several other partners. This year's theme for the Center on Community Philanthropy was Elevate Children. A couple of months ago, we had a national conference on community philanthropy where we highlighted Elevate Children theme. And I'm so glad this research, at the time we didn't even think about this, it fit very well within the broad theme of Elevate Children. As you can see, the research piece is about highlighting some best practices about this two-generation approach that is playing a major role in getting people out of poverty and homelessness, especially homeless families with children out of homeless and so on and so forth. And also this research highlights the organizational strength and community support in that effort. Although it is mentioned as best practices from Arkansas, it is actually the best practices of your very own nonprofit, Our House Inc., which is doing an amazing job and touching lives of people who go through this dreaded homelessness and near homelessness. So that forms the base of this presentation. So this is a game plan. I'm going to quickly talk about the process. Dr. Williams mentioned about that. I'm going to skip some of them. Then I'm going to highlight the partnership. This is truly a teamwork. As Skip mentioned at the beginning, and the three partners, I'll talk a little bit about that. That adds validity to the research and the product itself. And then the product, I'm going to talk about that, what we came out, what we found in this research piece, and what are the products out of that. And then I'd like to share with some memories of me spending the last 5 months here. As to the process, Dr. Williams covered, and then Dean covered a little bit about how this process of researcher in residence came about. But I'd like to highlight the uniqueness of the Center on Community Philanthropy. It is one of a kind center on excellence in this country, because in my field, I teach nonprofit management and community organizations and many practitioners. There are 1.5 million plus nonprofit organizations in this country. Most of the institutional approach in philanthropy is based on fundraising, how nonprofits can raise money. That is very important as well. But then the focus here is on community philanthropy, where true spirit of giving, caring for one another exists. Community philanthropy is generally defined as individuals in the community giving their time, talents, and treasure, the so-called triple T's, right? Which translates into people giving donations, whether it's $5, $10 for causes that they believe in that exist in their community, and people giving their treasure in-kind support, and more importantly, people volunteering for a cause. Now, nonprofits are home to philanthropy in general, but definitely nonprofits need to mobilize community philanthropy. That's a theme. So the mission of the center is to work on teaching, research, and outreach, highlighting the importance and important concepts and practices of community philanthropy. I'm so glad I've been part of this initiative, and I look forward to partnership between the University of Florida, my Department of Family, Youth, and Community Sciences, and the Center on Community Philanthropy into the future. So as to the timeline, I came here on January 10th, my first trip to Arkansas. Since then, I've grown to love Arkansas and Little Rock. So in 5 months, we got to work. This is how the partnership began. The partnership between the Center on Community Philanthropy at the Apex and me as a researcher in residence representing my University of Florida and our house. When they put out the RFP, request for proposals, they did it separately. One, for the recruitment of the researcher in residence, I applied. When I looked at the center's uniqueness, I jumped at the chance and I applied. So they went through the recruitment process, and they also invited applications from local nonprofits to partner with me. So this was done in the end of fall last year, and January we began to discuss. I came with an open heart and open mind because this is the first time this position is created. So we wanted to be a win-win situation for all the three partners: Center on Community Philanthropy, me as a researcher representing my university, and definitely for our house to make use of this opportunity, these talents from the multiple angles, so to speak. So we decided earlier on. I think the first week we met. It was not an easy meeting because expectations were different, because we come from different angles, and Georgia and her team, they are in the ground, ready to go, and me bringing the overall nonprofit excellence piece, and Dr. Williams focusing on the community philanthropy. But we came to consensus earlier on. We decided on what the direction of the research is going to be. It's going to be useful for everybody across the board. That's the key idea. And also we decided on the products of this research earlier on, because I see many research projects derailing without this complete consensus earlier on. So then I started my observation. Like any good social scientist, I went and observed what this organization is doing. I heard about our house, but it's important for me to see and feel what they are doing. So the better part of my first month was spent in our house. I was connecting with individuals, employees, a management team, board members, and so on, so forth. I was given all access. This is another rarity. When I've done a lot of research case studies, when I work with nonprofits, getting information from them is pulling teeth. Painful for them and me. In this case, it was truly a joy because of the hospitality in our house. The name says it all. It is people were so friendly, forthcoming, and welcoming me with open arms and so on and so forth. So this is truly a collaborative research by the research team. The research team comprises of me. I played the lead role, and Dr. Williams bring the community philanthropy side of it, and Georgia Miatin, who's the executive director of our house. You know Georgia. Everybody knows Georgia. And Ben Goodwin. Ben, I think, is not here. He's in New York, and I think he's watching live stream. If so, hi, Ben. So 4 of us were the team. So as you can see, we brought different perspectives, multi-dimensional approach to this research that in so many ways validate this project. And Ben and Georgia in the field, putting out fire day in, day out, and Dr. Williams looking at the broad picture of how nonprofits can and should tap into community philanthropy, and me bringing my expertise in nonprofit organizational management, so on and so forth. And then I went on an interview spree. I interviewed 24 individuals in our house. Once again, it was a very pleasant experience. They were all forthcoming. I interviewed the board of directors. That is very important to me. I interviewed all management team members multiple times. I interviewed selected employees and national service members. This is another best-kept secret in the world of nonprofits. Our house truly harnessed the power of national service members. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And we also surveyed all the employees to get their input. What's going on good for them? Is there any issue among employees in terms of human resources? And I also interviewed the corporate partners. Our house has done an amazing job in connecting with the local corporate community, small businesses, and so on and so forth. I wanted to get their input on how our house is connecting with them to make all this work a reality. Finally, we did the focus group of the clients themselves. These are the customers. It's very important for me to get their input as well into the process. So this is how it played out. The products, it's a fully developed manuscript. We actually submitted yesterday, pushed a button yesterday. So it's under review in a major journal, very, very well-recognized journal. So that's a major product, highlighting the promising practices. There are so many things going well for our house, not only in terms of program excellence. You see, most of the academic products, in terms of articles, focus only on the program excellence. But we want to highlight earlier on organizational excellence, organizational management excellence in this organization, and also how this organization mobilizes community philanthropy, why the organization has so much goodwill among the community. In fact, that's a major interest and expertise that Dr. Williams brought into the process in terms of community philanthropy. So as a result of this, we strongly believe that we created an article that highlights the replicable model. That's a key. We developed how our house has a promising model which can be replicable across this country, around the world. That is a very important part of developing research pieces like this. Now, let me start with some information about homelessness in the US. Homelessness is one of those dreaded social issues that still stubbornly exists in the communities across this country. Now, because of the obscene levels of income disparity in this country, the segment of our population still think homelessness, hunger, and poverty exists only in faraway lands like Rwanda and Uganda. It exists in our backyard, right in our backyard, right? The causes and consequences of homelessness is being subjects for multiple debates. But in general, causes of homelessness include job loss, unemployment, underemployment, mental health issues, domestic violence, and so on, so forth. And the consequences are severe. Any way you look at it, people who go through homelessness suffer unthinkable consequences, right? Unthinkable consequences in terms of their mental health, in terms of emotional status, in terms of being productive citizens. Homeless is not a choice. Nobody wants to be a homeless person. It is because of different factors, as I mentioned, push them into it. And unfortunately, this society, we still consider homeless as not as victims, but causes of their issues, blaming the victims type of mentality. Thank God, organizations like Our House, the food banks are existing across our communities to take care of these people when the governments fail and the for-profit sector fail as well. So these are some numbers, very alarming numbers. In 2015, number of homeless folks in this country, right, in the United States of America, 579,000. Now, this might not look like a big number for a country with 320 million plus people, but look at this point in time. US HUD estimates homeless population in any given time. This was actually calculated in January, one night. How many people are homeless? They estimated how many people are homeless across this country, individual. So this doesn't capture people who are coming in and out of homelessness throughout the year, right? So this is point in time. And then if you look at the further subpopulation, homeless families. Now, this is a major, serious issue. Homelessness is serious, but it's serious enough for adults. Imagine children going through homelessness. Now, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I can't even imagine what these parents are going through to see the children in the homeless state and so on, so forth. So if you look at these numbers, families, 67,000 families are homeless any given night in this country, estimate. Okay? And if you break that down, 216 individuals, to translate, that include parents, that include children, toddlers, youth, and so on, so forth. Some are chronic homeless, 15,000, but most are non-chronic homeless. They are pushed into homelessness because loss of job, something happened, so on, so forth. I know cases, an attorney in Gainesville, Florida, who was a consistent donor to a local food bank. Every month he wrote a $500 checks. After the recession, he became a recipient because things happened. He lost his wife and so on, so forth. So in so many ways, we are away from few paychecks to be in this situation. And homeless youth, another major issue, 45,000 youth homelessness in point in time, any given night. Children, look at this number. This is a very serious issue. 2.5 million children. This is year across a year, any given year, 2.5 million children, 1 out of 30 children in this country suffer some form of homelessness. A day, a week, or month, and so on, so forth. Very serious stuff. And further, 6.7 million youth ages 16 to 24 out of school. The education system failed them. As a result of that, the economic engine failed them as well, and then many of them are drops out. 1/5 of them are parents themselves. What would they do? If they're out of school, out of job, they have their own children, what do? These are very serious things, and our society still, we have to address all these things. It should be a concerted effort by the government, by the non-profit sector, by the for-profit sector, academics such as myself. And these are the numbers for Arkansas. Not very good. Okay? As you can see, the extent of child homelessness, 29th rank, one being the best, 51 actually, they included DC as such, 29th rank. Okay? But if you look at the other numbers, they are dire. Child well-being, Arkansas ranks 47. Dismal 47. Risk for child homelessness, 41. Now, these are the people what we call at risk for homeless. They're near homeless. They are not there yet, But if you don't do anything about this, they're going to hit that number. So this is a population. Unless we stem, across the good news is across the country, homelessness is coming down. Right? 36 states, homeless went down the last 4 years. 14 states, actually, it went up, including DC. Right? But if you look at the number of the near homeless, at-risk homeless, the number has spiked tremendously. So if you don't stem the tide of this near homeless population, these numbers are going to shoot up. Definitely in Arkansas. Look at the numbers. 41st rank in the nation of children being near homeless and so on. So the very serious numbers that we need to think about. Now let me quickly talk about two-generation approach. Two-generation approach to address family issues been there in existence forever in social programming. But it's taking a central stage of late because of its strategy and how it works tremendously. Right? So two-generation approach formed the basis of what our house does in this community. Okay, so this is how it works. Instead of focusing on social services only for the parents and only for the children, two-generation approach combines them and provide both services simultaneously in a continuum of care model. Right? It makes sense because the family becomes the driving force at the center of the development process. When this happens, there are studies consistently done, practices consistently done, not only in homelessness, but poverty alleviation, domestic violence prevention, educational improvement, health improvement, so on and so forth. Our two-generation approach is the in thing in addressing family homelessness. We saw the severity of child homelessness, so without a question, this is emerges a most powerful model in addressing that social malady. ASCEND is an initiative of Aspen Institute, which is a think tank, which promotes, actually they started pushing this since 2010 after the recent recession, because they found families are suffering. Not only the near homelessness, but also mental health issues, domestic violence, and so on, so forth, food insecurity, and so on, so forth. So they've been pushing for it, and they're doing an amazing job. This is how the model works. The focus is both on the child and the parent simultaneously, at the same time. So the child gets all the supports, early childhood education, after-school programs, and all the supports for cognitive development, and the parents get support. So the parents are pushed on the pathway to economic self-sufficiency, better jobs, having homes, and so on, so forth, and also parenting skills. Parenting skills, that's very important. Financial skills, money management, so on, so forth. So that's a two-generation approach. This is another way of looking at two-generation pathway. This is from CLASP, which is another think tank based in DC. While DC is loaded with all the lobbyist thugs, there are good people in DC as well pushing on social reforms. And this simplifies the process. So help parents as workers towards the path of economic self-sufficiency, and also help them to be parents, teach them parenting skills, especially youth who are parents themselves. They don't have the coping mechanism, especially when they lose a job, they don't have education, they need help. They don't want handouts, they just need help in all these things. When you do that, there is an improvement in children's overall development, cognitive, educational, and health, and so on and so forth. Children, without a question, are our future, period. You see this rhetoric in politics, people talking about it, but we aren't doing much about this. Okay, so this approach pushes the children improvement and eventually moving generations out of poverty. Now, generation into the future, not only this generation, but into the generation, because it has long-lasting consequences. A quick snapshot of our house. I'm sure many of you know about what they do, and but quickly to recap, for the purpose of the research, it was founded in 1987 initially by a community philanthropy, initiated by community residents. True effect of community philanthropy. Actually, I interviewed one of the founders, Madge Brown, an amazing lady, 86 years old, tough as a nail, actually tougher than a nail. She's amazing. I asked her, why did you start this organization? She was telling about how one day they were walking out of the church after service, a man approached them and told them with tears in his eyes, he said, I've been sleeping in a car in the parking lot for the last 2 nights with my family with 2 children. And they're going to kick me out of the parking lot tonight. Please help me, I don't know where to go. That triggered the response from the small group of people. They came together, true community philanthropy. Started this organization way back in 1987. Since then, this organization has done an amazing job, touched lives in a tremendous way, and so on. So I also asked, off the topic, I asked her, why do you name it Our House? She said they were all talking about how to name the organization. Somebody said, shelter, and they all thought, they didn't agree because they all look very institutional. And somebody said, Our House. They said, aha, That's the name, because it invokes that community spirit and so on, and so forth. I had a fun talking to Matt, a true visionary who was one of the main members of this organization. This is the mission. Our house provides not only services for the current homeless families, but also preventing homelessness. That's a very important part. I'll explain that when you go along. In terms of history, this organization has grown leaps and bounds. It started in a very small way back in 1988, in a small building in downtown, 40 beds, the traditional shelter approach, providing roof for the homeless folks. And then it evolved into creating pathway out of homelessness. And then came the two-generational approach in 1991. First, childcare provided by, in a homeless setting. And then the expansion on the new campus. Those who haven't visited our house campus, I strongly recommend you folks visit. This is a true place where magic happens. People's lives are touched. People move on the path out of homelessness, out of poverty, and so on and so forth. Then they started this prevention program in a large scale. Once again, all these things rooted on the two-generational approach. CAFC stands for Central Arkansas Family Strengthening Institute. I'll show the table on how profound this initiative impacted the organization. In 2004, they opened their $6 million state-of-the-art children's center. A beautiful facility. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And this is a conceptual framework. One of the first questions I asked them is, what is your theory of change? I asked this question. I'm an academic. I'm a talking head, right? So I need to go and ask people, what do you believe? Why are you doing what you're doing? Many people don't have an answer. That's what we did always. But the problem is, if you've always done what you've always done, you will get what you always got. That's the status of nonprofit management in this country. Many of them, that's what we provided 30 years, we are continuing to provide. Not this organization. They clearly know where each part of the project goes. So this is a two-generational approach. Parents and children, and how individual programs offered to the parents affect the children, and vice versa, and how their interaction plays out. They know how this change occurs. That is very important, conceptual framework. And you need to have a logical mind frame on how things work. The good news is it reverberates across the management team. All supervisors have a clear idea, clear identity on how this fits with the overall mission of the organization, right? So the conceptual framework. This is a campus. Like I said, it's a beautiful campus of 7 acres. The first time I walked into our house, my reaction was, this doesn't look like a shelter that I thought it would be. Blame it on me. Typically, when people think about shelter, how it would be, kind of a depressive environment. This looked to me like a community center. Children playing around, people are happy, and so on and so forth. As you can see, this is administrative building. You enter here, plenty of parking, and most of the shelters I've seen are in, depressive buildings, and in a corner of a building, parking lot, and so on and so forth. Not this. So this is a shelter, this is a family housing and playgrounds, and this is a state-of-the-art children's center, and this is a brand new, they refurbished the learning center. So as you can see, everything comes under one-stop shop model in a clear flow, in a community development, community center environment rather than the traditional shelter environment. Right? So these are the programs. After I finish my talk, Georgia is going to talk briefly, and I'm sure she'll highlight some of this. But these are some of the key programs. As you can see, where the two-generational approach comes shining through. This is a traditional approach. Provide housing. Give the roof to the roofless folks. But it goes beyond that. Prevention, children's center, providing amazing opportunities, babies, and after-school programs. If you go after 3 o'clock, the place becomes magical. Children playing around with shining, eyes shining, and so on and so forth. And the employees so caring, the Vista and AmeriCorps members playing with them, and so on and so forth. And then the career centers where they create the path to self-sufficiency for adults through computer skills, through how to write resume, employment skills. They partner with the local small businesses and enterprises who come and do mock interviews and even recruit many of the clients, and life skills like parenting skills and money management and so on and so forth, and the re-entry. Unfortunate reality is many homeless folks, the homeless population include people who are formerly incarcerated, and many of them, who are in a completely different mindset. The organization creates a re-entry program for the pathway. And then the CAFC program, which is a case management-based program, because every client's need is different. Right, because of the issues and so on and so forth. A case managers walk through the process, addressing specific needs, providing specific intervention, so on and so forth. These are some of the programs. I like to bring your attention to this. These are the outcomes. The question is, so what? As Dean mentioned, outcomes matter. This is about outcome, folks. Many organizations provide many programs. The bottom line is not just the number, how many people you serve. What happened as a result of that? What is the outcome of this? In short term, in medium term, in long term. If you look at the numbers here, these are the programs, these are the total numbers served. Housing program, they served 804 folks in 2005. This is throughout the year. And 101 any given night. This is a point in time. Any given time, there are 101 residents in their shelter, getting help, making sure they're going the right path for self-sufficiency and so on and so forth. 70% exit with some permanent housing. Very powerful outcomes there. These are the children's program. As you can see, 98% of the babies, early childhood education, toddlers, right? 91% of the after-school program, they meticulously note all these things. Right? They carefully capture all those things. They go through, there are team meetings on a quarterly basis to find out how is it going, how are things going. If there is any change needed, they immediately intervene and make sure the numbers are going right. So the impact is what we are looking at in the nonprofit world. Like I said, 1.5 million nonprofits, many of them going after the same dollars. Community philanthropy. Unless you show the outcome, more and more donors are becoming savvy in terms of, numbers served, you serve so many people. As a result of that, what happened? This organization clearly has excellent outcomes in all the programs they serve. This is a CAFC. This is prevention program. These are the people who are not homeless yet, but they're almost pushing towards homelessness, and how this organization is helping. Started in 2012, major impacts. So look at this, total income at entry 16,000 and at exit 24. This might not sound like big for us, but this sets the trend, set the stage for them to come out of poverty, come out of all the associated ills and so on and so forth. Look at the numbers here, high numbers in terms of what people get out of these programs, preventive measures and so on and so forth. So completely diverting their fall towards homelessness, and the organization is growing leaps and bounds. If you look at this, I mentioned in terms of scope, in terms of program, the organization has grown. Even if you look at from the management point of view, if you look at just the dollars and cents, look at the operating budget. From $500,000 in 1996 is close to $2.5 million. Now, especially the growth is very impressive in 2010. Basically, they went through a massive growth spurt. Interestingly, this is a time when the economy tanked. What happened in 2004, 2005? The economy flatlined. 2006, we went on a free fall. 2009, we hit the rock bottom. The economy tanked. Guess what? Nonprofits are the first one to hit and last one to recover. Many nonprofits went belly up. Many of them are badly sustaining. Look at this organization. They were just growing as if there's no tomorrow. Right? Very impressive. So all these things don't come out of thin air. It's not magic. It is because this organization has so many good practices in terms of its excellence, in terms of its management practices. Let me highlight some of them. It has a working board. As you all know, all nonprofits are headed by a small group of volunteers called Board of Directors, right? I've seen many nonprofits. I worked with many nonprofits. And this organization, without a question, has a working board. I actually participated. I actually observed a board meeting. Very diverse board members. Very intent, very mission-focused. In fact, I interviewed the chair of the board. And he told me he connects with Georgia every week on a regular basis to see what the organization is doing. Not very common in the nonprofit world, right? Board members are very busy. This gentleman is actually a corporate executive, very busy guy. Right? That shows the seriousness, involvement of the board members in this organization. Another board member I interviewed, he said he wanted to be on the board. He asked to be on the board. And with tears in his eyes, he told me, our house made me a better person. Our house made me a better person. Very powerful stuff coming from the board of directors who have hands-on approach to governing the organization, making the policy decision, making the fiduciary decision, making the moral decisions very carefully in pursuit of this organization. Then comes the executive leader. She's right here. Georgia is not going to be happy. She's a very modest person. She's not going to be happy when I sing her praise, but I'm going to do it anyway. In my courses, I use this book, Carlson Donahue, something like it's titled as Nonprofit Executive Leaders Survival Guide. Basically, the authors highlight the hallmarks of nonprofit excellence. Georgia is a personification of those 5 hallmarks. Visionary. Absolutely. I mean, Little Rock has to be thankful. Arkansas has to be thankful to have such a nonprofit. No wonder she received the best executive nonprofit executive director award a few years ago. She's a visionary. I had several personal moments with Georgia in talking about the organization's vision. Very strong conviction in the organization's growth. So many ways she guided the process of the growth in the organization. Strong conviction in the vision and making sure the vision is converted into actual reality. Vision, you can just keep dreaming, but converting the dream into reality is very important. We all have to dream big. Great man once had a dream, and what happened now? So the very powerful visionary that is important, change agent. She is truly a change agent. She touches lives, thousands of lives every single day. I've seen her working with clients. I've seen her playing with the kids of clients. The personal touch is very important. It is built in. Without a question, she's a change agent, and she's a relationship builder, both inside and outside organization. She connects with the community, connects with the corporate folks, and she moves all the sources to make sure the voices are heard, and then the issues put in forefront of the community. Community created. This is a community that was a key part in the community philanthropic part of it. She connects with the community very well. Right? In multiple ways, in community leader, church groups, and so on and so forth. And she is definitely a resource wizard. That shows in the organization's growth from $500,000 to 2.5 million in the last 4 years, and so on and so forth. So hats off to you, Georgia, for excellent work that you're doing for the organization, for touching the lives of the clients. And human resources. We all know employees are where the rubber hits the road. These are the people who carry the babies. These are the people, case managers, who come into contact with the individuals. People like Michelle, right here, who provides all the opportunities for their clients, and so on, so on, so forth. Right? So this organization has an amazing group of employees, from the management team all the way to the frontline staff. All of them believe in the mission. All of them truly believe in the mission. It came through in the interviews they had. It also came through in the survey that we conducted. National service members. These are once again the best kept secret. AmeriCorps and Vista volunteers. They are paid by federal government, and they come with the fire in their belly. They want to truly change the world. And our house has been the magnet for AmeriCorps and Vista volunteers. I had opportunity to meet with a couple of national service members. Lindsay is right here, and there's a joy in what they're doing. These are the true talents, who want to change the world, and our house gives them tremendous opportunity. In turn, they give tremendous opportunities for our house as well. Vibrant organizational culture. Organizational culture is a very important thing. Each organization has its very own culture. So that is going very well for this organization as well. The organization grows strategically. I mean, they carefully plan their growth and make sure everything ties up well. This is the result of the survey that we did. As you can see, in a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very dissatisfied, 5 being very satisfied, most of them are crowded. Most of the crowded responses are from satisfied, very dissatisfied. This is very unique as well. Many nonprofits have 35% turnover rate because of employee dissatisfaction. More information on that. The community philanthropy, the organization connects with the community, not like many organizations I've seen, because they know the pulse of the community, they know the assets of the community very well, and they approach them through typical marketing, segmentation, mobilization. These are some of the indicators of how they mobilize a community philanthropy. More than 1,000 people give individual donation. It could be $5 to large gifts. In-kind support, meals, all meals for the clients are provided by individuals in the community, church groups, congregations. Amazing. They are lined up. They schedule for when are they going to serve. And then volunteering. This is another tremendous number here, 2,500 volunteers contributing 16,000 hours of volunteering time to help for the cause. So in so many ways, the organization has program excellence, organizational excellence, also mobilizing community philanthropy. This is another graph that shows how 1/3 of their funding comes from community philanthropy and the diversified sources of funding that keeps the organization a growth moment. A couple of recommendations, without a question: keep doing what you're doing, keep being a learning organization, keep growing as a learning organization. And the next level for the organization is to become a best practice model. In this result, we focused on promising practice model. Best practice models require some intense data collection, analysis of data, longitudinal data, that means time series data. So I recommend that our house partners with the right academics and researchers to push that and publish more articles, be a national leader. We just pushed one article button, and hopefully that will continue. And may the force be with you. I'm not a Star Wars fan, but they need all the forces to be with them. A couple of memories, and this is the day one, January 20th, right here. here I was, Dr. Williams. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Williams for everything she's done. She's been gracious in every aspect from the time I applied for the program until today, I'm sure into the future as well, paying attention to make sure everything goes well with the Researcher in Residence program. And Dean Rutherford and Dr. Hoffbauer, thank you so much for your continuing support. I'd like to thank the staff of Center on Community Philanthropy, amazing folks, and also the faculty, students, and staff of Clinton School. I mean, they have the best there is, period. And I'd like to thank Georgia and her team for making this a very pleasant experience, learning experience, and also as a research experience as well. And the home stretch, 3 weeks ago, Clinton School celebrated the 10th commencement. And I am a huge fan of President Clinton. When I came to this country in '93, he was my first president. Right? I sure hope to God he's going to be the first gentleman of this country come November. But anyway, yeah. And especially, I was so proud that Dr. Williams we were nudging through the crowd, and we made sure we met the man. He held our hands. He wouldn't let go. He held our hands, asking what we are doing. He actually thanked us for the work that Dr. Williams is doing in the center, and myself as a researcher. A very powerful moment. What a way to finish my research in residence. In closing, thank you, folks, for everything. It's been an amazing journey. Go Gators, go Trojans, and go Gators. I know in reality, Gators and hogs don't get along well with each other. Gators eat hogs and so on and so forth. But as a Gator, I bring peace to the land of hogs. Thank you so much. I invite Georgia.
It has been such a joy to get to work with you, Kumaran. Kumaran came to us, and I think our biggest challenge was, how are we going to pronounce his name? And he very quickly just said, just call me Kumaran. So he became just Kumaran to all of us. And Kumaran, in the time that you've spent with us over the last 5 months, Charlotte, in the partnership that you brokered, that you made possible for our house and for the nation, and helping lift up our model to others so that we can touch the lives of not just thousands of homeless children and their families, but hundreds of thousands. You both have become a part of the Our House family. So please come back up. I think we're going to do questions in a minute, but I want to present you with the Our House team t-shirt. So here it is. Charlotte, we have one for you as well. So here it is, and I want to say that these are not for sale. Only Our House team members get these. So thank you. I hope you wear it on Jeans Friday. You're always welcome out at Our House. I want to leave time, of course, for questions, but Kumaran said that I would share a little bit about our programs. And before I do that, I want to follow up on something that he said about organizational excellence. What I want to share is that in this room, there are the people who are the hands and feet of Our House, the people who make the change possible. And those are the team members, those are the board members, and those are the donors. And I would bet that everyone in this room would stand if I asked you this question. So think about this long and hard. Have you served at Our House? Have you brought a meal? Have you brought a donation of items? Have you come out every single day and worked for the last 7 or 8 years? Have you decided to give a year of your life to service? Have you served, or are you currently serving as a board member? Are you someone who mails in a donation to make our programs possible? If you are one of those people, will you please stand? Thank you to each of you. I will share with you one story of impact, and it's a story that we had the opportunity to highlight as a model of what the two-generation approach looks like. That's a fancy academic term for something that makes such logical sense. So I want to share with you a story, and it's a story about how Our House weaves together programs for children who are their own individual with their own strengths and their own needs and their own hopes and dreams, and weaves together those individual stories of children with the hopes and dreams and desires and talents of their parents and pulls those two individual entities together into a third entity, the entity of the family, and works with that family to navigate through complex systems because, boy, when you are a person living in poverty, needing to navigate systems, it is hard, it is confusing, it is complicated. And how our house weaves all that together so that we can help guide a family like this family whose story I'm going to share with you out of poverty and out of homelessness once and for all. So this is a story about two people, a husband and a wife, a mother and father who have two little girls who I get to see every day, twin 3-year-olds. And they also have two sons, a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. And this family who's dynamic, these parents who are so engaged with their children's lives that they are down in their children's early learning center, Little Learners, right here at our house, almost every day, volunteering, serving in the classrooms, organizing in-kind donations. This family is homeless. This family has poor financial management skills, but this mother is a visionary. This mother has an idea for her future. This mother is an entrepreneur, and you know what? She has already started a business. You are welcome to hire her. She's a housekeeper, and she wants to grow that business so that she can support her family. Right now, she realizes it's not enough work to do that, so she has another job as well. But she wants to develop those skills so that she can sustain her own business and sustain her family on that business. So she is a part of a program within the Career Center where she is accessing services for herself as her own individual, as a woman, as an adult, entering the workforce. She is accessing those services, and her husband is a man who works a full-time job, and he wants to build his financial literacy. He wants to be able to save. He wants to be able to save for his children's future and for their college because he knows that 8-year-old son of his is a leader. And that 8-year-old son of his also knows that he's a leader, which is why he applied within our out-of-school time program to be a member of YELL, Youth Engaged in Leadership and Learning. Not something that every child gets to be a part of, but something that children who are leaders, who want to develop those skills, can apply for. They have to get references, they have to interview, and this young man got selected to be one of those youth leaders. And because of that, he's out doing community service projects. He's out giving back because our house is not just about receiving. And the people who come to our house don't just want to take, they want to give. And that 6-year-old brother who I see every day walking his little sisters up the hill to the family house where the family lives is an engaged part of that family unit. That is a family unit who needs those 3-year-olds, those twin girls, to be in a safe, educational, early learning environment so that the parents can work. But you know what? Our state ran out of child care vouchers in mid-December. And this family can't afford child care for 2 of their children. So what do? They come to a program like Our House, who is simultaneously advocating at the policy level that the state will prioritize homeless families and homeless children so that when those vouchers are available, homeless children get first on the list. Did you know that doesn't happen right now? Well, that's going to happen because of that high level of policy advocacy that our team and those families like Marie and Omar are engaged in. So I hope you can see through this story that this is a family of 2 parents who are hardworking, who have dreams for themselves and for their children. This is a story about little girls who will go to kindergarten and be prepared. You saw the numbers. This is a story about a young man who's a leader. This is a story about a family who is moving out of homelessness. This is a story that each of you makes possible. Those of you shared about the board member, Dr. Kumaran, who cried when he spoke to you, who said, "My life is better because of Our House. I wanted to be on the board." I want to share with you that board member leads a local restaurant, U.S. Pizza Company, and in his restaurants, there were boxes where donations were accepted for swimwear and flip-flops so that those little boys could go on a field trip tomorrow in our summer program. And did you know that there are people in this room who are organizing right now an auxiliary for Our House, a group that will be for women and men who will give to say, when you need a volunteer, call on me. When you need a $50 donation, collectively, hundreds of people becoming so much more, call on me. Isn't that community philanthropy? I hope that each of you, as you sit here, will reflect not on how much the Clinton Center has done to highlight our mission and our work, not on all that Kumaran has done to study it and bring it to the nation, but I hope you'll reflect on what each of you has done to be a part of this, to be a part of this model that will change the lives not of 1,800 people here in Arkansas, here in Little Rock each year, but of 180,000 people as we share this nationally, as we're taking your advice and doing across the country to lift homeless families and their children out of poverty. Thank you all. I think we're going to open for questions.
We have time for questions, and please raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you. It is on. It's just not on from your end. The green light is on mine. Any questions? Anybody got a question? Yes, Caroline.
I just want to mention Madge Brown. You mentioned Madge Brown. She's 87 years old, and she still bakes cookies every other month for our house at 87.
That's a specialty. From what I hear, people actually wait for cookies. So.
Yes.
When your article comes out in the journal, will we be able to find it and read it?
Definitely, ma'am. When it's published, I'm sure we will have a process to circulate among the stakeholders of our house, and definitely on Center on Community Philanthropy, it'll be posted on our website, and we'll make it widely available. We just presented snippets of what we covered. The article, as you know, goes in length about the best practices, capturing them in very detail-oriented, outcome-based data, and so on and so forth. Yes, we'll make it available both at the Center on Community Philanthropy website. I'm sure our house will use that in the website as well.
Yes.
How do you, how do you promulgate these ideas so they work on a national level?
By the way, that's a proud papa of Georgia. I mean, that's why if we look at the last slides, the next step for our house, so far, they are very intense in what they're doing. The staff, I see Chris here, they are very intense on what they're doing. Joy here, focusing, but it's important for them to share what is going well for them in connection with academic partnership. And I'm glad Dr. Williams and the Center on Community Philanthropy in Clinton School created this partnership. Next level, based on this experience, take it to the best practice model. So best practice model is a golden standard when it comes to replicability across this country, across the world, actually. So that's why I put it as a recommendation. Next level, we need to collect time series data, longitudinal data, analyze them, and with the right people in mind in the field. My field is nonprofit management. There are many people who would be interested in working with our house in terms of making it as a best practice model. Best practice, when it comes to that level of scrutiny by experts, it becomes worldwide, global practice. So I'm sure Georgia has already latched on to that. I'm sure they'll develop good partnership with academia and also experts in the field of homelessness, child psychology, and so on and so forth, and take it to the next level of capturing the success of our house as a best practice model that can be replicable not only in this state, not only in this country, but across the world, around the globe.
Yeah, yes, sir. Right here.
I'm interested in the auxiliary. I get an email from you all, will the information on that be in the email?
Have you noticed that we have not yet sent out an email? Well, this is the debut right now. I just said it. I don't know if I was allowed to say it, but okay, it's official. Judy said it's official. Sharon, is it official? So Judy Adams, Sharon Bale, two of our amazing board members came up with this idea. Would you like to join, Miss Harriet? Okay, look right there, we got a member. Please come see us if you'd like to be a part of it. It is something that was really inspired partially by this research and the idea of community philanthropy, which you all got us talking about. So yes, we will send it out. Yes, oh, Judy wants to say something. Give Judy the mic. Give Judy the mic. And thank you, Judy, for the delicious food. Okay, there's Judy.
The official kickoff will be in September, so everybody will be knowing about it by then.
So I told you she's a community connector, on stage, off stage, it doesn't matter. Right? So you see, folks, I've engaged with hundreds and hundreds of nonprofit leaders, not only in this country, in 5 other countries across the world. You know, when I look back at all the experience, some of them stand out. Some of them stand out in all those hallmarks. Probably in the top 20, Georgia's definitely in the top 20 list of excellent nonprofit leaders, and she's also the youngest in that pack.
Well, let me just say that, Kumaran, we are honored to have you as our first researcher in residence. You just think you're going home this weekend. Your plane's been canceled. So, but we thank you for your time. And then I want to say that picture of you and the president at the 10th year graduation, it's appropriate that on the 10th year that we were partnering again with Our House, because on the first year that the Clinton School opened, when a Clinton School student went to Our House to work on a project and came back and said, this project is great, but what we really need to do for Our House is develop capacity, and we need you to link up and become a VISTA site and work with National Service. And from year 1 to 2016, over 100 VISTA volunteers, resulting in thousands of dollars in capacity for Our House. So it's been a 10-year partnership. It will continue, and we thank you both for being here. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. And in closing, I need to thank 2 more individuals. My department chair in the Department of Family, Youth and Community Sciences, who's been very supportive in lending me to the Center on Community Philanthropy Clinton School this semester. And a big thank you to my family for making this big sacrifice. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and my wife is a researcher in the College of Education at the University of Florida. They visited me, but then it was the toughest part of this assignment is missing my family. So I'd like to thank them for letting me go away on the 5 months journey, and I'm heading home now.